It's Thursday, June 2nd, 2011. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the Gameshows.
Let's do this.
Been biking to work every day, as I say a lot at the beginning of the show, but I've run into some trouble. So, I don't ride my real bike because due to my building's union shenanigan bullshit, I can't actually take it up into the building, and there's no way I'm parking my expensive bike out on the street in Midtown in the most bike-stealingest city in the country.
Yep, my building, between the hours of 8 and 6, I can ride the elevator with my bike, so I do.
Yep. So I ride my mountain bike, and I park it outside, and I tie it to you know how there's municipal, like you can just tie your bike to almost anything unless it's something that you obviously can't. Like you can't put it on the fence outside a subway station.
You can't tie it to the antenna on top of the Empire State Building. It's out of reach.
Yeah.
And it's a little too big.
But like if you put it around certain kinds of private property, you can't do that, and there's laws against that. But there are places you could guarantee to be able to do it. For example,
a bike rack.
The municipal bike racks and the municipal bike poles.
Yep.
And one thing the city did a while ago, and they're old, but they're still there, is on a lot of light poles at the bottom is a little thing you can put your bike lock through, and it has this bike logo on it and everything.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of them right around my building. One Grand Central Place.
Yep.
AKA the former Lincoln Building. So I park my bike there outside, and every day, these union assholes come out of the building and yell at me and threaten to cut my bike down. They don't want me parking my bike anywhere near their building.
Call the police.
So what I did, because the guy came out and actually threatened to cut my bike down, one, I took a picture of him, which freaked him the fuck out. And then I was like, I'm going to call the police right now if you threaten me again.
Yeah. What do you say to that?
Then he's like, come on, blah, blah, blah. It's my job. I'm like, I don't care. If my bike's gone, I got a picture of you. I've got a picture of the bike. I'll call the police.
Yeah.
If my bike is fucking... And you know what? My bike was still there.
That's right.
So I lodged a complaint with the city, and I lodged a complaint with the building through my HR department. But I saw them over lunch today harassing some poor bike messenger who tied his bike to another municipal thing, again, next to the building. So fuck those guys.
Fuck those guys indeed.
But I'll win this one.
That's the thing in New York.
My bike seat is worth more than my bike, and I carry the bike seat with me. So if they actually do steal my bike, I will go all out to fuck them.
Plus, you know who did it,
and I'm not really out much.
Yeah, but yeah, it's in New York. There's a lot of rules, and the unions are very strong here, but there are some rules that hold them back and hold various people back. Like taxis, they have to take you somewhere.
However, taxis often pull bullshit. To get anywhere out of the Javits that isn't the airport, you basically have to lie and be like, yeah, I'm going to the airport, and once you get in the cab, be like, actually, no, take me here. And you got to be willing to call the police when they won't do it.
Oh, no, actually, you don't need to call the police.
Well, no, you call that number in the cab.
Well, you call 311, right? In New York, you can always call 311 if it's not 911, but you still need to call something, right?
The other thing the cabbies do to mess with people, they always, quote-unquote, break their credit card machine. They're like, it's not working, and then they freak out and attack you if you don't have or won't give them cash.
Yep, so it's like you just got to fight for it sometimes.
Yep.
And if you're not willing to fight for it, you're going to lose out.
But the cool thing about Gotham is that the laws are, if you know what the laws are, you do win in the end.
Yeah, so and there's not, there's, of course, it's impossible to know all the laws.
Yeah.
But
so
there's plenty of laws that you can learn that are the ones that matter for everyday city life.
Well, think of this like geekery. If you're an anime geek, you know about your anime. If you're a, hentai geek, you know about the laws related to hentai in your jurisdiction. So if you're a biker in New York...
Don't give me that jurisdiction crap.
I think there's a hentai about juris in your dick. Anyway, so if you're a biker, you got to know pretty much, like you should be an expert on the bike laws.
Yeah.
In your town. If you have a car and you own it in Manhattan, you'd better damn well know where you can park, because I don't know.
So anyway, I was speaking of biking yesterday.
And I saw a guy riding a bike over the Queensboro Bridge on my way home, and he was carrying another larger bike over his back. Nice.
I was biking to work yesterday, right? And there's a crowd of people standing around and a guy laying on the ground. So I'm like, is this guy having trouble? What's wrong with this guy, right? So I stopped to check out and see what's wrong with this guy. And I don't know, he might have had a heat stroke or a very minor heart attack or who knows what, right? He was complaining of chest pain, couldn't breathe, whatever.
Yep.
So some people are calling 911. I'm standing around thinking, I know CPR, and if he stops breathing, I'll help him out. Plus, I had read recently you're just supposed to do chest compressions and forget the whole mouth thing, and they have a better chance of survival. So I was like, oh, well, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
So I'm waiting there, and there's people around. And then one guy's like, I got to go to work. And another guy's like, I'm going to go down and talk to the traffic cop at the end of the bridge. And another guy. So suddenly it's just me and this guy, basically.
We're New Yorkers. We get bored quickly. I mean, like anything crazy's happening, everybody stops for like a second. Like, whoa, okay, I got to get to work.
All right. So basically I'm standing with this guy, and he's recovering. He didn't die or need CPR, right? He was just probably heat stroked and extremely exhausted.
Yep.
Right? And he recovered. But I was basically standing there waiting for an ambulance to show up on the pedestrian part of the bridge for like over a half hour, and it never showed. Lesson: don't hurt yourself on the pedestrian part of the bridge because the ambulance will not get there.
You know
for
what?
A very
I would be
long
cool
time.
with the ambulance driving on the pedestrian part of that bridge to get to you.
It didn't even like show that we didn't hear a siren. Nothing. There was no cops, no one tried to come, even though 911 was called.
Well, I think the
in
moral,
almost like 45 minutes to an hour. I left before it showed up.
I think the moral there is don't ever need an ambulance.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, I guess it was the morning rush hour, or who knows, but I had to leave before it showed up. But the guy was able to recover and walk down
It's funny because
to the end of the bridge. So
yesterday I was walking to lunch and an old guy just like he was walking in front of me and he just like fell
Yep.
on nothing. And he was fine. I helped him up, and he was okay.
Oh, he tripped. He didn't
No, there was nothing to trip on. He was
He
literally
didn't-
walking, and he didn't trip. It wasn't like his foot like went, and then he fell.
But it was a fall. It wasn't an aneurysm or
no, he just fell.
a
But
stroke.
he fell straight down,
All right.
like,
All right.
and then he got up, and I was like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Leave me alone." And then I just, all
So
right.
he's like a fainting goat.
Yeah, he didn't even faint. He just kind of like fell.
All right.
It was kind of, I don't know. It was,
Maybe it was a very minor seizure. Who
and
knows?
also today, I saw a dude who was biking,
Yep.
and he just fell.
Yeah.
Like he didn't hit anything. He was just like riding, and then his front, he just like falls over.
All right.
I don't know what happened there. He was young, reasonably fit on a normal bike. Bike was fine. I don't know what his deal was, but he just fell.
That happens.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So there's some irony in my news today. It's Thursday. It's the lounge. Talk about whatever we want. So the irony I'll get to in a second, but here's an article pointing out that phone books are actually still a pretty big problem because people keep delivering them, despite the fact that no one uses them.
No one uses what?
Phone books.
That's true.
Yes. Now, the cool thing is, I forgot that there's two kinds of phone books. There's the yellow pages and the white pages.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently no one uses the white pages. Like, no one.
That's right.
And the yellow pages, well, basically, here's the deal. The article is talking about how the phone book delivery system is finally coming down.
Yeah.
Phone books are finally starting to disappear. Check out this obsolete, antiquated shit finally going away.
Yeah.
You know who's reporting that? USA Today. Yeah, but some gems from this article because I didn't realize.
Man, I better report on this. These newfangled iPods. Here, the news report's coming over the ticker. Tick, 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 tick. Apparently, people are getting music in some sort of digital format these days.
So apparently, get this: the people who are really pushing for this, because apparently it took legislation to bring this stupid industry down.
Oh, thank God.
So. A quote from the article, there's a guy who works for the Product Stewardship Institute, which is a nonprofit whose sole goal is to limit the environmental impact of consumer products.
Hooray.
And he basically said, we all know fewer and fewer people use the phone book every year. It's an antiquated industry. We should get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically some laws were passed in Seattle, saying that people should be allowed to opt out of the delivery of any phone book, yellow or white. Simple law that people should have the right to opt out.
Yep.
A similar law was passed.
What's the penalty for giving someone a phone book who opted out?
I don't know.
Is there a penalty?
Yes, I assume so.
Okay.
So San Francisco passed a similar law, and the phone book companies, the private companies
Lost
that
their shit.
distribute them, filed lawsuits against these laws, saying there's a violation of free speech to allow people to opt out of receiving their phone books.
Okay.
So think about this. Whenever has an industry in one stroke both fought against its demise and proved why it needs to go away in a single sentence?
But I mean, okay, so if you say it's free speech, let's say they win. It's free speech for the phone book, right? You can't opt out of it. that means I can drop anything on everyone's porch no matter what, even if they have a sign that says no soliciting or don't leave your menus here. That means it's legal for me to drop anything I want that is speech on anyone's doorstep. And they're not allowed to say no.
Oh, forget that. Let's go a little closer
so
to the
I'm going to
mark.
go and make some sort of art. It's an artistic piece of dog poop, right? It's a dog poop sculpture. It's speech. It's art. And I'm going to leave it on everyone's doorstep because that's part of the artistic message. And
Scott,
they can't
there's
opt
a
out.
much simpler argument.
All right.
They're saying that they want the right to deliver phone books to people who don't want them so badly that they will file paperwork to make sure they don't get them. Now, clearly, the people who get them who don't want them are not going to open them.
No.
So this industry is proving that all it is doing is using its fake circulation numbers to trick people who don't know better into buying ads.
It's all advertising.
Yep.
Is the same way.
So that's pretty much it. I just thought it was interesting.
All right.
And I thought that the fact that the phone book companies are suing for the right to foist their garbage upon people is kind of amazing.
Nothing surprised me anymore.
Well, I remember
I've been seeing the same thing for 15 years.
Well, even at RIT, I remember every year they would bring the phone books on a big pallet and put them in Gracie's. And anyone who wanted a phone book would just take them. And pretty much no one took them, and they all went into the dumpster.
I mean, this is yet another one of those things where it's like, it took this long. It's like, I could have, I feel so behind the times. This should have been done in like 1997, not 2012.
Well, the thing is, there's a quote from the article, too, from the industry itself saying that they say that 75% of people actively use the Yellow Pages. And I call bullshit on that.
That's absolute bullshit.
There's no way. I have not used the Yellow Pages.
Well, can't someone who buys a Yellow Pages ad should sue them for false advertising?
I can't imagine the last time I used a Yellow Pages for anything.
I think I used it in Beacon once.
Yeah, I did. I looked up. I was looking for, what was it? A plumber or something?
So once in 10 years. Plus.
Thing is, I decided a long time ago, and I've stuck to this, unless I walk past a place or I specifically know about it due to some other means, pretty much no one who doesn't have a website is ever going to get business from me.
Yeah, that's
ever.
Right. That's pretty much it. So yeah, the biggest news of today was YouTube adding Creative Commons support, right? Now, this is, it's like, well, what's the big deal? Well, Flickr has always had Creative Commons support, and the way Flickr's stuff worked was that you could go and mark your photos with a Creative Commons license, any Creative Commons license you desired. And then it would clearly display on your photo what license it had, and would also put the appropriate metadata in the HTML so someone could programmatically determine, which Flickr photos were licensed with which, restrictions and whatnot, and which terms. Which, YouTube has now added that, and I'm like, good God, it's like Flickr had that a decade ago. Why hasn't YouTube had that? But they finally have it. But what they've added is pretty much just one license. It's the same license we have, attribution only, which is great. Because I really don't, there's a reason I picked that one.
Yeah.
And it would also be kind of difficult for them to add the no commercial license because then YouTube couldn't put an ad on your video. And it would be a little difficult for them to do, the share alike license, because it's like, well, yeah. But the attribution
Actually,
one,
it would be really easy for them to do it because there's nothing for them to do.
Well, I think the other thing is that they wanted to keep it simple for the user, right?
Yeah.
They wanted just Creative Commons or not, right? Not pick a license, duh.
Well, I also think about this, the subtle, by using this as the intelligent default, it just, people who don't know better will end up giving up more rights than they would have if they had the choice.
They'll use the most permissive best license, the one that everyone should use for almost everything.
Yep.
Anyway. But, so that's, they added basically the same thing that Flickr has, kind of. So it's like, okay, well, what's so exciting about that? What's exciting is the other feature they have added. If you don't know this, there's actually a sort of mediocre video editor built into YouTube, right? Like, you can edit videos right in your web browser. And this video editor now searches through YouTube for all the Creative Commons licensed videos, right? And allows you to edit them together. And if you're watching a video that is Creative Commons licensed, you can click a button to start editing it right away, right in the browser.
So, you know what's going to happen here?
See, that's, I think,
you know what's
Flickr,
going to happen here? A creative explosion.
I know. What Flickr really needs to do, right, is they need to make it so that when you click on a photo that's Creative Commons licensed, there's an in-browser Photoshop kind of situation going on. That would be pretty awesome.
Well, something's got to happen because I'm not paying for any more Adobe Premiere after the version I've got now.
Yeah.
And it amazes me that Premiere to this day cannot deal with the vast majority of formats of video out there.
I know, right? It's like, it was funny because today we got an intern at work, and he had an Ubuntu machine, and he was like, the video player was like, install a codec? Yes, no. And I was like, oh, that's right. Like, Ubuntu, the open source stuff, just automatically gets any codec in the universe for every kind of video and plays it all perfectly. And it's only on Windows and Mac that you need to go get some other video player
arguments Adobe
and install
always
some
gives
weird codec packs to
are
make
the
shit work.
worst. Adobe, people always excuse them. Adobe themselves usually say things like, oh, well, it's for professionals, not amateurs, and professionals only use X format and Y format.
It's like the commercial software is the one that's missing all the codecs and all the features, and the open source software has every codec in the universe.
The other argument they'll make is that, oh, well, format X or container Y is not suited to frame-by-frame editing, to which my answer is, so why don't you just have it import and convert?
Because that would be more work for them, and it wouldn't sell them any more copies.
Yeah,
Isn't that that's what you always say?
I know.
Would they sell it if they added MKV support? How many more copies of Premiere would that sell them?
Oh, I know. That's why I have Premiere now, because it's still better than any open source thing there is. But that's not going to be the case forever, and I just got to hold out on this shit ass version of Premiere until the open source world is good enough for me to edit together videos of Rainbow Dash.
What happens, right, is they wouldn't sell any more copies of Premiere, but someone else has a business selling a Premiere plugin that makes MKVs work.
Oh, good. So
if Premiere added that feature, all they would do is put that other company out of business, but they wouldn't make any more money for themselves.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah.
But let's zoom out, because a better example that people are more familiar with is Twitter. Twitter has a thing. People might use it. It's called Twitter. You can tweet.
Yeah.
And there's an API that lets you do cool stuff that Twitter doesn't do by default. So a lot of people built whole businesses around providing little features that Twitter didn't provide.
And then Twitter then provides those features.
And those people are now mad, claiming that Twitter is unfairly competing with them or driving them out of business or somehow tricked them. When really, they're dumbasses for even thinking that was a viable business model.
Yeah, this is an old story in the software world, right? I mean, I think the best example is Visual Studio, right? Visual Studio has many versions. I mean, when I was in high school, we were using Visual Studio like 5, and now they're on Visual Studio 2011 or 2010 or who knows what, right?
I installed the newest free version on my computer at work, and I really like it.
Anyway, but the point is that Visual Studio has lots of plugins for all sorts of shit, right? Because it has to integrate with all sorts of different development things. You know, if you're developing some particular thing, well, instead of, say, writing your own development environment, you just make a Visual Studio plugin so that people can then use Visual Studio to develop software for whatever your weird platform is, right? And there's tons and tons of plugins out there, and there's whole businesses that survive by making Visual Studio plugins and doing things that Visual Studio doesn't do. And occasionally, as you can imagine, over many, many years, 10 plus years of Visual Studio, maybe even 15 years, I don't know, it's really old, they've added a lot of features to Visual Studio that have made a lot of those plugins useless and made basically a lot of those companies that make those plugins not need to exist anymore. And it's just a reality. This is what happens.
And nothing of value was lost.
Yeah, this is what happens when you build a business based on someone else's business. That business that is underneath you owns you, right? It's like if I made an accessory for Ford cars, and then Ford changed the design of their cars so that my accessory doesn't work anymore, or they provide that feature in the car already so that my accessory is no longer necessary. Well, my business depended on Ford. So my hopes are Ford buys me and I become part of Ford, or they ignore me. I'm basically putting a whole bunch of risk because this other company, I'm dependent on them. If you want to have a long-term business, you need to be dependent on nobody but yourself.
Well, and the general economy.
Yeah, of course. That's true with any business. But, it's especially true in software where a lot of things are plugins. I mean, even making something simple, right? Like if you make a video game and you use DirectX and you make a Windows video game, right, using DirectX, well, guess what? Microsoft owns you. If they decide to just discontinue DirectX or remove it from Windows, or who knows, they could decide all sorts of things.
At the same time,
won't. It's unlikely.
I'm saying that's not a great example because that's more like using. Like, that's a platform for developing, and you understand the consequences of the platform. These people...
Right, I'm saying it's obviously that is a very low-risk situation, right? But the point is there is an extremely tiny but existing risk that you are dependent on Microsoft. You've built something on their platform. There's a tiny risk that Congress
is going to make your entire industry illegal.
That's also always true. Right? But, you ought to reduce those risks. So don't build something that, like if you're making a website using, it's okay to integrate with Facebook, right? But you probably don't want Facebook Connect being your only means of logging in, because then Facebook can totally owns your company, basically, indirectly. You need to also have your own logging in case Facebook Connect dicks you over. You can just drop them and your website will still work.
So speaking of dicks, it's time for Things of the Day.
So I was trying to think.
Oh, wow, that's actually really relevant to your Thing of the Day. Unintentionally.
I was trying to think of a classic Thing of the Day, right? Because there haven't been any new Things of the Day that aren't College Humor lately.
We've got College Humor's down right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because it worked for me a few minutes ago.
Maybe it just came back out. We've got some old classics that we've already done, like Hitler, Born to be Alive.
Yeah, I tried to go and look up some classics and figure out if we hadn't done them, like Kakugo Juichi, or Push a Robot, Shove a Robot, Secret of Space, or, have we done All Your Base Belong to Us, right? And it was like, we've done all those things of the day, right? I couldn't find any things of the day we haven't used, except for one. And I realized, this is something that is sort of an inside joke, and we always bring it up.
It's horrible.
It's in the show. We bring it up all the time.
This is one of those
people
things.
probably don't know what the hell we're talking to. You've probably heard us on the show say, "The dragon does. Big and it's green and it can't be lived by, please."
It's a little bit more obscure than It's Goofy Time.
Right, so it's like, we say that, the dragon does, all the time, but I don't think I'm pretty sure most people have no idea what we're referring to.
Even in our crew, about half the crew either don't know what we're talking about. A few of them know vaguely what we're talking about, in that they know it's a horrifying thing that they don't actually want to see.
All right, well, if you are curious, here's the YouTube video. We're going to reveal the inside joke. My year. This is what happened during my year with the dragon.
And
what the dragon does. What the dragon does.
I half made it. I just didn't finish it yet. But I'm mashing that up with Spike and My Little Pony.
Nice.
That's horrible.
That's the greatest I've ever heard.
There's one deeper. It's like Goofy Time is like this level, and then under that is the dragon, the year. You know what's under that?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Which basically this is not a thing of the day because we can't actually find it. I don't think it's on the internet anymore.
You know what? I've tried, and to my credit, trying to find that is a trying process.
There was
the things you see in Google.
There was a really, really shitty Flash animation that was poorly drawn in MS Paint by like a teenager.
But it started out, back when Flash animations, it was basically just the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme with some kind of mediocre
from the
animation
year 2000
of it, and it starts out benign, like, okay, this is lame, and then little penises like pop up, like for a second, you're like, was that a penis? And you're not sure. And then it just goes full tilt from there, like 10 seconds after.
Michelangelo is a party dude.
Oh my
And we
God.
can't. There's a Flash animation that's this horrifying Ninja Turtles.
You know how hard it is
porn.
to search for this? What am I going to search for? Horrible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gay porn? That doesn't turn up what I'm looking for.
No, it doesn't. Flash animation, gay Ninja Turtles,
Michelangelo party dude sex penis?
Yeah, it doesn't. So that's not a thing of the day because you can't find it.
But if any one of you do find it, you'll get a free Geeknights t-shirt.
My year with the dragon is a thing of the day. And what's Rim's thing of the day?
My thing of the day is Emily works with and knows a lot of talented people, and she went to the NYU School of Film and Animation. So what I have for you, and it's a link to our forum post that has 3 of them in a row, 3 of her coworkers have 3 of their animation theses from SVA. And they're pretty goddamn badass.
If you don't know, SVA is the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and basically everyone who goes there is like the best artist in the world.
School for Visual Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much. You go to like Mocha Festival, and there's like just like a row of SVA students, and it's like, how do you? What are they teaching you at this school? I have no art skills. If I went to this school, would I suddenly be like Van Gogh?
I have a feeling.
I don't know how this shit works.
I have a feeling it's like RIT. If you don't already know how to code when you get to RIT, you're not coming out knowing how to code.
Yeah, but SVA is some kind of magic. Everyone who goes there is the best artist ever.
Naomi, George, and Eugene made 3 videos, 3 animations. They're pretty great. I'm linking to them.
Well, how could they? If they were, you just tell me. It doesn't matter who they are. So and so, what school they go to? SVA. Yeah,
yeah.
I want to see whatever art they did because it's the best.
So, of course, in the meta moment.
Unless they failed out. We're talking about people who grad. I'm sure there are horrible artists who fail out. Maybe that's their trick, is they just kill everyone who's bad. Just to maintain the reputation.
So the book club book is still Isaac Asimov's Foundation. We'll do the show on it at some point. The unofficial book club book is the entirety of the Prince of Nothing series by R. Scott Bakker, because
We're gonna do more shows on it.
Yeah,
it's,
that deserves a set of dedicated shows. That we could almost make that a separate podcast.
We'll be doing shows on it for years.
Yeah, it's a perennial favorite. I don't know what else I should say.
I think it's the Front Row Crew book, right? It's not the best fantasy book ever, but it's great. And it has special meaning for us.
The listeners are proving my expectations right, because about every month or so, someone will post in the forum or email us and be like, I finally read that fucking R. Scott Backer book. Why'd I wait this long? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, man, when Naird... Oh, yeah. It's good stuff.
So everyone's favorite scene lately is with the Emperor being like, "Yeah, your guards are outside, mine are."
That is one of my favorite scenes too. That was the moment.
And he kissed the Emperor's ring.
When I read that scene, when I first read the book, that was the moment when I stopped and went, "Hells yeah!"
Because they play the Emperor like he's a crazy, almost nutty inbred Roman guy. But then it's like, oh, there's a reason he's still the Emperor and not dead already.
Compass is like, I could probably get away with this.
He's more like a Stalin, only...
Should I stab him
He's more like a
neck?
Stalin in the paranoia sense and not in the killing everybody sense.
Or in the chest. I don't think I could behead him. This ceremonial sword isn't that sharp. Oh, man, that's some good stuff. We're going to be at PAX Prime.
It's not Proyas, it's Compass.
Probably at PAX Dev. Kineticon will be not at Otakon, but that's their call, not ours.
Yep. Anyway, that's enough. Oh, let's talk about e-commerce, right? Rim, have you sent T-shirts to everyone who's supposed to get them?
They're going out actually this week.
You're a little slow there.
I am a little slow.
Did you get the international shipping working?
So I have 2 people who requested international orders. I tested with one of them to see if it would work, and it looks like it'll work.
All right.
So all the people who have already posted in the forum or emailed me about international orders, those should go out by Saturday, and you'll get an invoice from Google Checkout.
So if somebody can somebody just go to the shop.frontrowcrew.com and buy something internationally right now?
No, if you want an international shipping of a T-shirt, you have to email me.
All right, rim@frontrowcrew.com.
Yep.
Maybe I'll make shop@frontrowcrew.com and make it point to you.
Yeah, we might have already done something like that. I forget what we did with the shop. I got to look into that.
But anyway.
So anyone who has a T-shirt order pending, if you don't receive it within about a week of today, then something went wrong.
Yeah, and then as soon as the merch runs out,
we're gonna have about 3 of them left after I ship the outstanding orders.
All right, we'll get new merch.
We'll
make it a higher priority.
Maybe we should make it Dragon
Let's
Does.
do it. Maybe we could do it in time for not Kineticon, but PAX West.
Actually, what I want to do for the next PAX East is make Geeknights trading cards.
We could do that. Getting with all the other trading card people.
Yeah, or buttons. I don't know.
Both.
We can make some buttons for Prime. We always say we'll do that, and then
someone else did it for us.
And then it's a month before the con.
Some awesome people.
I know, because we're not awesome enough. Every year I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make buttons, and then it's a week before PAX, and I'm like, all right, buttons.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough meta.
That's enough. So, game shows.
All right, so this feels like a show we've done before, but I extensively searched the archives for a show about TV game shows, and I did not find one. If this is a repeat, I'm sorry, call me out, and you are right.
No, because people have been requesting repeats, and we've been planning to do this for a while. We just haven't bothered.
But the thing, it doesn't matter, because I'm pretty sure it's not a repeat, like 99% sure, because I searched extensively.
But one last meta, something we were planning to do at some point is go take a particular random old episode of Geeknights from like 2005.
That's something you were planning to do, not me.
The listeners want it, and I want it. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, you always want this weird stuff.
To take a show we did in like 2005, 2006, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take the exact same topic, record it again, and then, listen to the old show and see if our opinions have changed.
Probably.
Yeah.
Find any show where we're like, PC gaming's dead. Find any show where we're like, oh man, Nintendo.
I disagree. We weren't wrong then, because then PC gaming was dead.
I'm just saying.
It is having a renaissance.
I'm just saying.
Which we did not say could not happen.
I'm just saying.
But I digress. Now, we argued at length before recording this whether or not this was a Tuesday or a Thursday show. The reasons why we were doing it on Thursday are, 1, we needed a Thursday show.
That's right. That's the number one reason.
I have some
That's the number one answer. Ding, ding.
I have some post hoc reasons. If we were going to do a show on game shows that was a Tuesday, we'd talk more about the mechanics of the shows and the strategy and individual shows in great mechanical detail.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about them as television shows, as entertainment, as us at home watching.
That's a post hoc excuse. The real reason is we need Thursday shows.
I did not say it was not a post hoc excuse. In fact, I already had that disclaimer there.
I'm just saying.
You know me. I am the king of post hoc trash talk.
That is right.
So
you're in fact not the king of post hoc trash
the
talk.
emperor, the Ikurai.
You're the god of post hoc trash talk. You go down, it's like Thor lightning, Rim post hoc trash talk.
Yep.
Scott giant penises. Okay.
It's very rare that I will say I'm going to win this game before the game. I rarely will pull the Babe Ruth and point out over the outfield. But after the game's over, I'll be like, I knew I was going to win the whole time.
That's right. Anyway, so TV game shows. It's weird. When we were preparing for this show, which we spent about 5 minutes on, we went to Wikipedia and found a list of TV game shows.
So I'm going down and I right-clicked on every one that I watched, and I clicked on like 30 game shows.
I couldn't figure out. It's like I didn't realize it until now, just like how much I liked TV game shows when I watched TV. It's like I didn't realize that was actually sort of a moderate to major geekery of mine, because I didn't even, it was just sort of like always there. The same way that like when I was a kid, Disney Afternoon was like always there, and I wasn't, like if you asked me if I was a big fan of it, I would have been like, no, it's just the thing I watched.
But then I think back, I watched DuckTales every goddamn day it was on.
Yeah, so it's like game shows, I realized just now, just within the past hour, that they're one of those things that I just sort of always watched, never felt like I was a big fan of, never, expressed, never wore t-shirts about them or bought merch for them or anything like that.
I wanted to be on them desperately.
Oh yeah, of course, because I knew if I was on The Price is Right, I was gonna win everything.
Oh my god, Legend of the Hidden Temple.
I know I'd win that too.
Punch that guard out.
Nick Arcade,
yeah.
I'd win that shit.
You can't win Nick Arcade.
Yeah, you can.
It's broken.
Anyway, it's true, but I would have done better than those punk kids. But it's like I didn't realize that I was actually such a big fan of them, and there was like so many that I liked and watched frequently. And it's actually kind of sad, because even though I don't watch TV now, I realize just from what I know, I guess from being one or two spaces away from TV, that there aren't really that many game shows left. A lot of them are changed and aren't what they once were.
Well,
if they still exist.
One,
and two, a lot of reality shows now are actually game shows that they just call reality shows.
Well, that's what I noticed when I was looking through the list. It's that there was like this boom of game shows in the 60s and another boom in the 80s. And then in the 90s, there was like this weird like side boom where all the game shows got very slick, but also very gimmicky and less gamey.
Yeah.
And it was weird. And like I remember this whole era of that. Like I remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like these very high production value game shows that were actually less entertaining to me as game shows.
Yeah, they're the things that were still game shows, right? Like Let's Make a Deal.
Let's Make a Deal is like my favorite.
No, that's
game
an old
show
one. What's
time.
the one with the suitcases?
Oh, Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No. I knew
Fuck
I had the
that
word
show.
I knew I had the word deal in it, but
you know how I learned about that show? This is how disconnected I am from television reality now.
I knew about it because it was an arcade machine.
I knew about it
Penn
because
Radio. Penn Radio.
How he was on Penn Radio,
Yep.
and he talked about how he hated the game and was tricked into being on it as the host, and then he liked it.
Yep. But anyway.
Thing is, like I look at that game show, Deal or No Deal, and it's like, all right, the optimal strategy basically involves ignoring what anyone says and choosing randomly and then stopping when you've either won enough money or have a possibility of winning enough money.
Yep. There was a guy in a forum that I frequent, right, who was on a more recent episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he just went on and answered questions, and he made it to like 60K or something like that, and he's just like, you know what, I'm stopping.
I would do that.
I was like, how was that? I was like, hell, I went in the forum, and I was like, because he posted a YouTube vid of his appearance, and I was like, dude, you are the awesomest. You did the smartest thing ever.
Yep. Don't go for the $1 million, $500,000.
It's like, what kind of moron are you? It's like $60,000 for 15 minutes work. And there's a risk if you keep going that you're going to lose it all?
No.
How could you possibly not stop and take the money home?
So, that's game theory and mechanism design.
No kidding.
And the psychology and the mechanism design.
But they
of
also
those
have
shows,
psychology of the sets. It's like a casino, right? Where the audio, video, lighting of the place, makes you. They're trying to trick you into doing certain behaviors, and the guy totally didn't fall for it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So what? I think my favoriteest game show of all time.
Well,
the one
we
that
have to wait. We have to break this up because there's favoritist and there's also most watched.
Well, I think they're both the same.
Price is Right, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Whenever I
watched
was
that.
home from school at 11 o'clock, I'd watch The Price is Right and watch lunch. If I was home from school for any reason
I even
during
watched
a weekday.
reruns of The Price is Right.
It doesn't matter.
'Cause I hadn't
It's not
seen
like
them
you
all.
can remember the episode.
Yeah, and I remember thinking as a kid that I was really good at it, and I think nowadays I would be terrible at it.
Well, the problem is that a lot of the products that you have to know the price of, right, are they want to know the manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Which, as a kid, for some reason, I always knew, and I finally figured out why. A lot of the stuff were things you'd see in grocery stores and in malls.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time as a kid in grocery stores following my parents around buying stuff.
But the point is
And
that
because
you
I
never
wasn't-
pay manufacturer suggested retail
No,
price.
but MSRP was usually listed on the labels of things, and because I was a bored kid who couldn't walk and play my Game Gear at the same time because the battery only lasted like 10 minutes anyway, I was reading everything that I could read because I needed something to occupy my mind.
The reason I knew the prices is because I watched The Price is Right a lot, and I didn't actually know prices of things in stores. And then when now I sort of know the prices because I buy things.
I credit The Price is Right with a very important first step toward game theory mastery when I was a little kid. I learned how to bid.
You knew when to bid $1.
Because one day, when I was watching the show one day and someone bid $1, and I was like, what? And then it dawned on me.
Yeah.
And then
I learned a lot from watching that show.
And then I remember one day a guy bid $1. He was the second to last person.
The last guy bid $2.
Yep. And the first guy, the guy who bid $1, didn't seem to understand what his mistake was.
Come on, old ladies wouldn't even make that mistake. And old ladies can spin the wheel.
Yeah,
right?
you know who usually makes the worst mistakes were the people who are in their 30s, 40s, who are the super excitable, like Bob Barker's there, and they're just like,
yeah, they fuck up all the time. But the other thing about that show, right, is the thing I actually like the most were all the weird games like Plinko or punching the holes to grab the money out
I always
of.
liked the mountain climber where you got to stop
The mountain climber. Oh, it's the
I
best.
liked it because a surprising number of people were so stupid they let him fall off the top.
Yeah, I don't understand that. At least if you're going to let the mountain climber go to the top, stop him at the very... There's a tiny, tiny chance he could be right.
I guess I liked the show because it was a real, it was a test of knowledge and skill. Mostly skill. It wasn't that random.
Yeah, there was, the mini golf game, right? You had the putt. You actually just had to fucking putt.
I love how he would always putt and he'd always get it in.
Of course, 'cause,
Yeah.
he practiced it. But,
he's an avid golfer. Didn't you see Happy Gilmore?
But yeah, Price is Right was the shit. I don't know. The thing is, nowadays, I don't know if it's the shit anymore.
I don't know.
I mean, I remember I had a thing of the day
Drew
once where
Carey,
the guy...
whatever. It's just Bob Barker was so perfect in that role.
He's the best guy ever.
And I love his little microphone with the little nub on the end of it.
No one can touch the original Price is Right. It's just like the untouchable best game show there ever was.
Well, it was also funny. It had this good mix of just everything going for it.
Yep. It's like, it didn't even matter. There wasn't like a competition between people like Jeopardy where there's winners and losers.
Except during the Showcase Showdown.
Yeah, but even then, you're in the showcase, that means you won something.
Yeah. Well, there's a split in game shows too. There's some game shows, especially older game shows, where winner takes a whole bunch of stuff home and the loser gets bupkis.
Yep.
But now, like Deal or No Deal, there are shows where the odds are if you get on the show in the first place, you've already won. You're already going to get a whole pile of money. It's just a matter of how much money you get.
Well, I mean, even shows, if you ever watched like Double Dare, right? You didn't really pay so much attention to this, but I do remember it. It's like you'd watch, and one family would be eliminated, and it'd be like, and then there would be like this announcement
Their
you totally
parting gift will
ignore.
be-
Their parting gift is a bunch of bicycles, or their parting gift is a bunch of video games.
Because those are all ads.
Those are all ads paid for by the people giving out the prizes, obviously. But it's like you didn't pay attention to it, but there were parting gifts for pretty much everyone who lost at every stage of the way. Same thing on Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah.
Every kid that was eliminated, the more stages you went in, the
prizes got better.
The
and better
prizes
and better.
got better and better. So it's like if you got eliminated immediately in the water crossing part, you got like some videotapes, and if you got to the next part, you maybe got a bicycle, and if you won, then you won like a trip somewhere.
They don't just like take you out back and shoot you.
You won like a trip. You won like a trip, back to Florida again or something like that.
I think, Price is Right I watched the most, and I got the most total enjoyment out of it just because I watched so much of it. But really, I enjoyed Let's Make a Deal a lot more.
Really? You think so? Because I actually didn't watch that all that much. I've only watched it maybe like
Mostly
less
because
than 30 times.
The host and the psychology of it. Monty Hall was just a genius, and it was just.
He was indeed a genius.
There's something about that, like, there's different eras of comedy. There's a certain level of this kind of I'm a game show host from the 70s, 80s, or early 90s, especially like early 80s, mid 80s, and late 70s. That just is different from other kinds of game show hosts.
The only part of
it's a certain amount of snark and a certain amount of like, we know we're taking the piss, but we're doing this anyway.
The only part of the show though that really stands out for me is like the great part was when he would go into the audience and be like, "I'll trade you. Who's got like a coffee cup?"
Yep.
And people would start bringing weird shit just in case he would say that. Anyone got a handkerchief? You got a handkerchief? All right, I will trade you such and such for the handkerchief.
So Scott, do you remember the mathematical solution to the Monty Hall question?
No.
Do you remember the Monty Hall problem?
No.
What he'd always do is give you a choice of 3 doors.
Well, I know the 3 doors, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd pick one, right?
Yep. And then you could either...
No, and then he'd reveal one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd be like, you want to switch?
Yeah.
So there's an absolute answer whether or not you should switch.
Well, it depends what he revealed. What if he revealed, like, the best thing ever? Of course I'll take it.
No, if you reveal... Well, anyway. So... Well, you should look up the Wikipedia, not you, but you, the audience of Geeknights, the Monty Hall problem, because don't, spoil it for yourself. Just read on the internet what the question is, see if you can work out the answer for yourself, and then read the answer. Because you know what? All those game theory books I bought, that's all they do. Here's the problem, solve it, and then they're like, here's the answer, here's the math.
Isn't it that you should always switch no matter what?
I don't want to spoil it for the people.
Yeah. But the point is, if he reveals something that's, like, the best thing ever, how could you not go to it? It's like... it all depends on what's revealed.
You should read how the Monty Hall question works. But anyway, I like the snark, the match game.
Yeah, match game was the match game wasn't really about winning. It was just about the humor of making sexual innuendos.
Well, the match game was that level, like that kind of I'm a game show host, except it's a whole bunch of people all playing that game.
Yep. But yeah, it's weird. It's like, even though these game shows, all they really have in common is that you had people competing in some sort of way, doing something to win prizes, right? Even, like stuff that didn't even really seem like it was a game show, like Takeshi's Castle, like you can't win.
There's no winner except the audience.
Right.
And Takeshi. I really like Takeshi's Castle.
It was pretty much people do something and there's a potential prize, but really the goal was to make entertainment, right? It was crafting a game where spectating was, sports sort of have this, right? But sports also tend to try to make a competition and entertainment at the same time. And a lot of times, like a game will be boring because it was just a bad game. But a game show is pretty much a crafted experience to always be entertaining, even if the game fails.
Here's an idea. Game shows are entertainment, right?
Yep.
I think someone should do. Now, they kind of do this with reality TV, but I say make a straight-up game show that, and ahead of time. It's not like you hide it. It's like basically professional wrestling of a game show. A staged, all-actors game show that itself is basically a comedy drama. You know
what it is?
Pro wrestling.
No. You know what it is? Mm-hmm. It's called The Gong Show.
Oh, The Gong Show.
You go up and it's who can entertain
the Gong Show was not that. The Gong Show was more of a sort of like talent competition.
Yeah, exactly. But it was all about being able to entertain the audience.
No, but I'm saying you hire
the Gong
actors.
People.
Like the reason the match game worked is that it was all people who were good at that. They were good actors. They had jokes ready. And it was basically the game show was just kind of like the setting for this comedy of all these people.
Well, Hollywood Squares is the same thing also.
Exactly. But someone should go one step further and not like make a straight up fabricated game show that is a TV show, because the gimmick of that alone would probably make it weirdly retro popular on TV.
Well, there are some reality shows that like only have famous people on them, or at least semi-famous people, right? So that's, a reality show. Most reality shows aren't actually reality shows. They're game shows, right? No. Like look at Survivor. Right? Like, I've never actually watched Survivor, but I know how it works. They put people on an island and make them do certain...
It's a game show. It's basically what would you do?
Yeah, it's like, all right, everyone, now you have to eat nasty bugs. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not reality. That's a game show. And then, the person who's left at the end is the winner and they win a prize. That's a game show.
Oh my God.
If it was a reality show, it would be, we're dumping you on an island that has hidden cameras everywhere. You can do anything you want except tamper with the cameras. Whoever's alive, that's a reality show. Right? A game show, everything is so scripted and there's, specific tasks you have to achieve and prizes. That's a game show.
I really, really liked Family Feud too.
Family Feud is all right.
The thing
I
is,
like playing. Family
yes, I
Feud
like
is the
playing it
best
more than
one to
watching it.
play, but to actually watch it is okay.
I actually really like playing the old NES, SNES versions of it.
I like it when we set up one to do anime Family Feud at a anime club or a convention.
Oh my god, this is kind of a tangent, but it's a tragedy. But back at RIT Anime, right? We used to run Family Feud, but it was Anime Feud. And because
Fanboy Feud.
Yep. Because the people in this anime club actually watched anime, unlike people who go to anime conventions, we had some pretty inside baseball questions and topics, and people would do surprisingly well. Like, if it was something like, I don't know, how many episodes is an anime on average? People in the top answer is 26, 13. Like, people would give answers that made sense. We tried to run Fanboy Feud equivalents in match games at modern anime conventions, and we'll be like, name a Pokemon, and people whisper to me as the host, they're like, what's Pokemon?
Yeah.
We're like, name a character from anime who eats too much, and they'll be like, Pikachu?
Gee, you couldn't think of any character who eats too much, even though pretty much every anime has 10. Because eating is their favorite joke. I don't know.
But Family Feud, I also enjoyed because people would give some dumb fucking answers.
Well, I don't care about the dumb answers. What I always cared about were the slip-up answers. And you can always see these on YouTube, which is why I don't need to actually watch Family Feud. But it's like, name something, grandma. What is it, grandma's undies or something?
Dildo.
Yeah, it's like, you're like, oh. People always accidentally give a match game answer when they're on Family Feud.
Meanwhile, I love how match game it would quote unquote accidentally, like they'd say something raunchy, when really, if you look at the questions, they were all pre-scripted to do nothing but make as much of a reference to sex as they could without getting in trouble.
Yeah, the Family Feud thing was like, name something, the last thing a burglar wants to see is when he breaks into a house. Naked grandma was the answer, right? So it's
I used to watch Wheel of Fortune, but it made me feel really smart and made me really not like other people.
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune is, I don't think it's that great.
Remember Pat Sajak?
Yeah.
For some reason, I like Pat Sajak.
Really? I really actually kind of didn't like him. I mean, he's not like a bad guy, but it's like the way he came off, he didn't come off as like he was like exciting.
No, he came off as one, it's a job.
Yep.
Two, he's better than these people, and he is being degraded by doing this show.
Yep.
That is why I liked him, because you could see all of that through his fake smile.
Yeah, but see, Alex Trebek was the same sort of way, but it's like I hear he's actually a huge jerk.
I don't know.
That's what I hear, but not that I've met him.
Alex Trebek fit the feel of Jeopardy. Pat Sajak fit the patheticness of Wheel of Fortune.
They definitely do fit their shows, but that's just because they've done those shows.
Especially because if you want, look on YouTube
forever.
For like Wheel of Fortune fail, because Pat Sajak couldn't like rip into someone who was stupid. So when someone gave just like amazingly disastrous answers, or they guess like X when there's only one spot left in a phrase, he would always like kind of make this smile and be like he'd sigh on the inside, like a part of him died. And then he'd be like, afraid that doesn't quite cut it. Or, nope.
Nope. It's your spin, so-and-so, number 3.
I never liked Jeopardy, though. I'll be honest.
Well, I mean, Jeopardy is sort of, it's got its good parts.
As a little kid, I never knew the answers.
It's got good parts and bad parts, right? It's like, it was weird because, like, you'd either, crush a category or you wouldn't. Or it'd be about something so obscure that's, like, only some genius guy would know.
Well, once I learned how they prepare people for Jeopardy and how the selection process works, as a kid, I was, much less impressed with the people
Very
on
much less impressed. And once I also learned the buzzer matters a lot more than, the answers.
Yep, and even as a kid, I hated the fact that you couldn't just buzz in early. And then, when I got into high school and joined Quiz Bowl, I hated it even more.
Yeah. But yeah, Jeopardy it's sort of fun because you can, it's like you can play along at home, but then why not just do Trivial Pursuit?
Or why not play Jeopardy on the SNES?
Because you run out of answers. Like I had Junior Jeopardy for the NES. I learned over time. I learned every single answer.
I had Wheel of Fortune, the board game.
My cousins had that.
It had this huge board with this complicated mechanism for loading up the phrases and these clickers. It was a surprisingly complex game.
My cousins also had Jeopardy, the board game. I never understood why you needed a board game.
It's weird. I watched a lot of shows kind of half-assedly. Like, I watched...
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're watching a game show, it's like you never really give it your full attention.
Yeah, like, I'd always watch Win, Lose, or Draw just because it was on before Golden Girls, which I watched.
Yeah, we always watched like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy because they were on before or after the evening news.
Yep.
That was on in the kitchen eating during dinner. I watched Price is Right because it was on after the early morning cartoons, and I was home from school, and I was eating lunch.
Yep.
And, I couldn't play video games while holding a sandwich.
But, like, Finders Keepers, I hate it. I thought it was a stupid... Like, I didn't
really?
like it.
I actually kind of like that one.
I didn't like it mostly because I always caught the tail end of it. And it was toward the end of its run, so it looked kind of chintzy compared to the shows that came on after it.
It did look chintzy, but the thing I liked about it was pretty much the tear apart the room looking for shit part.
Yep.
The other parts they didn't really care about, but it wasn't that was even great entertainment. It's just that at that age, I really wanted to do that.
Tear apart a room?
Yeah, go into some fake room that was full of shit and tear it apart looking for something that was actually well hidden, but it was like not so hidden that you could never find it.
Much better than the find the flag in the goop on Double Dare. That was my most hated one.
Double Dare was so hit or miss with like some of the challenges were really good challenges and some of them were just sort of broken.
But it was funny because when they were broken, it's like everyone on the set knew it was broken and laughed about it.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh wow, you can't really actually throw those chickens.
It's like, they use the slingshot to get the eggs in the bowl. It's like you get half an egg in the bowl. You won because no one could possibly do that.
At least Double Dare, the questions looking back, I remember, again, really hating the kids up there who never knew the answers to anything.
I don't know why Double Dare even bothered with the questions. They should have just done physical challenges all the time.
Yep.
And they should have had like 3 levels.
Every now and then you'd see like there'd be a smart kid or like 2 smart kids, and they would just answer every question to do no physical challenges and win. And then it's like, all right.
But at least on Double Dare, the obstacle course always actually worked pretty well. Right?
Oh my god, I want that to be the Omegathon finale, the Double Dare obstacle course.
Unlike the Hidden Temple, where incompetent people would just go in and be like, derp, 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 derp. No one really derped the Double Dare obstacle course. They would just physically fail at it. They wouldn't derp it out of losing, not knowing what the fuck to do.
I always was vaguely like I wanted to be on Double Dare because some of the things were really crazy and I just wanted to do them. Like the bubblegum machine where you jump into the top and like just fall through that funnel.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were pretty good. Some of the most fun ones, like were the ones you stayed clean, was like the big, the gopher wheel or the hamster wheel. Yeah. Well, there's the hamster maze, also the wheel where you just run in the wheel enough to get it all the way through. But then some of the ones that were actually tricky, like here's a slippery surface covered in like chocolate syrup, make it to the other end.
Yep.
And I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. But yeah, man, it's weird because there was like this whole there was like 2 genres, like the whole kids game shows versus the adult game shows, but I watched both even though I was the same age.
Yep, and I watched a lot of reruns, and like when I was little, I watched like Press Your Luck, and I didn't even pay attention to it enough to really understand the rules. I just watched it.
Yeah, all I remember is no whammy, no whammy, hit the button at the right time.
And then the little whammy animation would happen.
Yeah, it was always fun to watch a whammy animation.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like when I was really young, I watched game shows the same way that I played video games. Wasn't really trying to win or paying attention, just kind of doing what kids do, not 100% sentient.
Well, I mean, I wasn't trying to win because I wasn't playing, but I was yelling. By the time the Hidden Temple was on, I was yelling.
I was
like, "Are you stupid? How could you not know how to put together the fucking silver monkey? Have you not have you not even watched this show? If I was there, if my partner failed to put together the silver monkey, and then when they came out of there, I would have punched them in the face so hard, I kicked them right in the junk.
See, I'm pretty sure.
I'd been like, silver monkey. I would have taken the silver monkey and shoved it right down his throat. Like, you cost me fucking trip to, oh my god, I kill you.
Being slightly older, I at least know now that they filmed it all in one go, so the kids on it couldn't have seen it.
I'm just saying, in the second, in season 2, you should have fucking known how to put together the silver fucking monkey.
Worse than that, I think, and I hate to, it amazes me that I'll say it was worse than that, were the kids on Nick Arcade. They just like...
They kids who never played a video game in their lives.
Not even that. The final battle where you go inside the video game and it was that crappy blue screen.
Yeah.
Kids just like didn't listen to the host at all. He'd be like this one video I watched, again, recently because I remembered it from my childhood. There's this one kid and he's 1. All he has to do is reach up and touch something.
Yep.
And there's like 20 seconds left with all the monsters paused before they start up again. And he just kind of stands there, like, looking around. And the guy's like, all you have to do, come on, just put your hand up. Just grab it. Just put your head. And then the kid dies and loses. And he's like, you gave it your best.
If that was your best, kill yourself. Where's that kid now?
There's no way he made it.
They should interview him on Nerd Alert. They seem to love interviewing people who are like,
Oh, we should suggest that.
But anyway.
I never liked, I remember...
It's just frustrating in general, right? To just, no matter, even if it's not a game show, to watch somebody fail at something that is so easy for you yourself to do, right? Even if you're just watching someone play Mario 1 and they run to the first Goomba, it's just frustrating.
Babies, you can't swing this high.
Yeah, it's like, you watch someone try to ride a bicycle and they just keep falling over, and it's like, oh, come on, really? Come on. Or watch someone swimming in a pool and they're drowning. It's like, really? Kick. Is it kick? Do you not know how to kick?
I guess what bothered me the most wasn't the incompetent
so
kids.
Simple.
Because that was entertaining to be so angry at these children. But I hated the game shows when I realized that there was no skill involved or that the initial rounds didn't matter. Anything that had a poorly designed game really bothered me.
Yeah, because you'd watch something like Guts, right? And some of the things on Guts were actually pretty cool, like the obstacle course part.
But none of it mattered. The aggro crag was worth more points than fucking anything.
I know that, but you had to get to the aggro crag, right?
Yeah.
But there were other things that were kind of boring, like bungee jump basketball. It's like, all right, boring. Why do they even have that here,
It should have been more like American Gladiators, which
really
liked.
Oh, American Gladiators was the best.
Because
American Gladiators was on right after Saturday morning cartoons and before pro wrestling, and it was the perfect cross between the two. I love that shit so much.
Because it was the closest thing that
but all those gladiators were on roids so much.
To gladiatorial combat. The fact that it was direct fucking competition. It was the kind of thing that you always wanted to do. I mean, as a kid.
But even then, some of the games were more entertaining than some of the others, right? Like Joust was the shit.
Yes.
But put the volleyballs in the baskets.
I
in
really
the middle.
liked that one too.
That was okay, but it wasn't as good as
roll the cages into the things was great.
That was okay. It was okay.
I also liked the one where you had to get on the hanging suspended rings and make your way across because no one ever made it across, and they'd grab you with their legs and just pull you down.
Oh, the one where you had to. There was a sea of rings,
yeah.
and the other guy was coming after you. Yeah, I seen it. The thing is, it was so awesome in American Gladiators when there's a hard game like that, and the competitor was just so good they actually did it. It was like, fuck yeah, look at that guy, he totally did it. And the thing about American Gladiators, it was sort of like the Japanese thing. What's it called?
Takeshi's Castle?
No, the
one that Nagano won.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, but it's what's it really called? It begins with an S. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Okay.
Sasuke. It's sort of like Sasuke was designed to be really impossible, but American Gladiator was Sasuke is also on your own. It's like, what can you do on your own? But American Gladiator was versus Sasuke against these steroided lunatics.
And I really like direct competition.
Yes,
like that.
but also the games were less ridiculous. It's like they were balls hard, but they weren't impossible hard. My favorite, I think, was the one with the guns, and you had to go from station to station shooting different pieces of weaponry.
I love how almost no one ever hit with anything, and had to get all the way to the end and throw the grenades up there.
The tennis balls.
Yep.
I loved it though when you would shoot the gladiator to disrupt them, right? With the air powered missile. But I was always impressed when somebody would just go up there, grab the first weapon, and shoot the target, and be like, "Ding!" and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's right, bitches."
Yep.
But they always gave you that last chance to escape. And that tennis ball that the gladiator shot you with had to hurt us like hell.
Oh my god! I saw a replay where it hit a guy in an ankle. He had a bruise it was amazing.
Yeah, you'd sue if that game show still existed. But yeah, no man, there was it's so surprising. It's like you don't realize it, but there were so many of these game shows, and I liked almost all of them.
I mean, it's Wild and Crazy Kids.
I didn't like it that much. I watched it because it was on when I got home.
I watched it because it was on before something like Ren and Stimpy or something.
It was on when you got home from school, and it actually was. They were only a few episodes, and they showed them over and over again.
Who can forget the a cappella ditty from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, people forget that was a game show, right? The game show was actually the first thing, and it was the biggest thing. But everyone remembers the video game and mostly now. But the game show was actually really great.
Just the music, the cast was funny. They had a high production values for what it was.
And that was yet again the
kids were stupid.
Yet again the frustrating final event where you had to put the stakes on the countries. And because I had watched the show, I knew every fucking country. And these kids just didn't fucking know it. And the worst is when kids didn't even know their own state. It's like you just need to go die in a fire. You don't know you got U.S. map as your final challenge. It's not like they gave you Africa or Asia, right? You got U.S. state, and you failed it. You suck. Anyway. Yeah, game shows made of win. I think we need to bring back more of these older game shows and less of the reality shows.
I just want more. I want different kinds of game shows. I want unique stuff. I want like the Monopoly game.
That was awful.
I loved Monopoly, the board game, as a kid.
When I was stupid.
And I heard, there's going to be a Monopoly game show, and I was just excited.
I really wanted to watch it real bad.
And I remember the opening theme, MONOPOLY. And I'm halfway through it, and I realized that at no point does skill or intelligence have anything to do with who wins.
I really wanted to watch it. I was able to watch it like once or twice. I don't even remember how it worked, but it was something about the timing of it, or like it got replaced with other shows so quickly because it was so bad. I didn't get to see it that much. But yeah, it's like I really wanted to watch it very badly when I knew it was coming out. Oh well.
So Scott, I had to get the years before I called you on this. You said that Carmen Sandiego, the game show, was the first Carmen Sandiego.
Was I wrong?
You're wrong so hard.
Oh my god, I can't believe that. Because I was so sure.
Scott, that show debuted in 1991.
I was so sure that all of the video games and everything else were based on the game show on TV. Yeah.
Really?
I guess was I totally wrong?
You're wrong.
When did the first video game come out?
So all right, so the program aired on PBS.
Yep.
From 1991 until 1995.
All right.
The first video game came out. Well, it was proposed in 1983. And the first game came out in 1985.
Oh, I fail. I can't believe that. That's weird.
It's not that weird.
It's weird.
It's Broderbund.
Yeah, but it's like the thing is like the format of the video game and the format of the game show are actually so similar that I was so sure that the video game was based off the game show.
Well, because it was very rare for a game show based on anything to in any way resemble the thing it was based on.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
That's why some of the best video games were game shows were the ones that weren't based on anything.
Yeah, I guess you could categorize game shows, right, into things that were based on other things and things that were based on nothing. Like Price is Right isn't based on anything, but there was a game show for Scrabble. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was actually pretty bad and a really bad time slot. But like $100,000 Pyramid was based on nothing.
Yeah.
Except itself. And that was all right.
Getting Egypt.
But, I guess I think the best game shows, though, if I think back, are the ones that are based on nothing but themselves.
Yeah, they're also the ones that either were contrived, like Match Game, where it was basically just funny the whole time, or ones that were actual games.
Mm-hmm. We need to come up with something, Well,
we'll see. Hopper.
There's also those video games like You Don't Know Jack, which is sort of like a game show that didn't exist.
1 vs. 100.
That was an actual game show that was in software form.
Yeah.
I never got to play it, sadly. Oh well.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.